What are you trying to showcase, and how significant is this in a post-Brexit world for the UK?
Well, a lot of the themes of the Expo are very close to the themes that the UK government has as part of our wider strategy. Our industrial strategy sets a number of goals of how we deal with an ageing population, how we deal with renewable energy and our responsibilities in the environment, how we deal with AI and data, how we deal with mobility issues in a changing world. A lot of these will be reflected here. So the UK's pavilion, which is about opportunity, will be setting out how we deal with those things, but also our responsibilities as individuals and societies in how we deal collectively with the challenges that come with the opportunity. So we are very excited about it because we think that the themes that we wish to talk about are also the themes that the Expo will concentrate on.
What's the trading opportunity for you out here in the Middle East? Because it does seem, while you have this unfinished jigsaw that is Brexit at home, and also now this ongoing issue around the leadership of your country, perhaps some countries out here may be reluctant to talk with you about trade. Is that the case?
No, absolutely not. In fact, if you look at the trade and investment relationship, it's increasingly a strong one. The investment coming into the United Kingdom means that we are the third top international destination for foreign direct investment. A lot of that's coming from the Gulf area at the present time. Some of our biggest markets are here. The UAE is a very big market for UK goods and services. So there's a strong trading relationship and there's a strong investment relationship, and this is a very good opportunity to show our involvement in the region.
So how advanced are the talks on a GCC trade deal?
Well, the trouble with the GCC trade deal is twofold. First of all, we're not allowed to negotiate on any trade agreement until we're outside the European Union, which is a debate in itself. And secondly, of course, you have that dislocation with Qatar at the moment inside the GCC, which is a customs union. So that provides some additional difficulties. But in terms of discussions around market access and the investment agenda, they can go unrestrained.
Also wanted to ask you about a couple of other issues in the region as well. A recent court ruling in the UK means that you had to suspend arms sales to Saudi Arabia and its coalition partners like the UAE. As we look at these tensions with Iran and rising geopolitical tensions in the region, does that undermine the security of this region, in your opinion? And can you weigh in on that court ruling?
Well, so that's not quite what the court ruling said. The court ruling said that we needed to change the methodology by which we arrived at our exporting licensing. It doesn't require us to stop any of exporting of the licenses that we already have at the present time. We have decided that we will not issue new licenses until we've looked at our processes and complied with the court judgment. So it doesn't have an impact on what we're actually able to do in terms of defence cooperation at the moment.
And I wanted to get your clarity on this as well. How do you respond to this judge's claim that you were part of a group that acted unlawfully in approving some of those licenses?
No, they didn't say didn't say it was unlawful. In fact, what they said was the process itself wasn't complete, therefore the decisions would have been unlawful. But they said even if the changes had been applied, that would not necessarily have led to any different decisions from the ones that we arrived at. So it really was a question about process. It wasn't a question about whether our decisions were right or wrong.
And the government still plans to appeal this court ruling?
Well, we will, because we think that we had taken all the necessary information into account, perhaps not in the specific way that the court wanted, but we think in effect we had looked at all the same information in terms of a retrospective look at any potential breaches of international law. We take our responsibilities very seriously on that. We've got one of the most, one of the tightest exports licensing systems in the world, and we intend to keep it that way.
I have to ask you about some issues at home as well, and in particular the situation with the Tory leadership today. Boris Johnson has said that the chances of Britain leaving the EU without a deal are, quote, 1,000,000 to 1. Do you think Europe is going to budge on a deal under him or any other leader?
Well, I think what my colleagues in the UK need to understand is this is not a unilateral process. Any one of the 27 EU leaders could decide that Britain is not getting an extension, therefore we're leaving without a deal. In a negotiation, there are two sides, and I think we need to understand that. And I think that we want to get the European Union in a position where for us to leave without a deal would be potentially damaging for both sides. but it's clear that the deal that we have at the present time won't get through our Parliament. So if we are all genuine about wanting to, first of all, recognise the need to fulfil the democratic element and honour the wishes of the British people in the referendum and leave the European Union, but also to do it in a way that causes minimal disruption, then both sides will have to compromise.
And of course, you're backing Jeremy Hunt as leader. Why do you think he would be a better leader than Boris Johnson? Because when you look at the situation in the polling today, it does look like you're backing not really a winning horse here.
Well, I think that the more that the public see in the UK of Jeremy Hunt, the more they like him, the more they hear what he has to say, the more they know about the ideas that he would have, the more attractive they find him as a candidate. First of all, I think he's got a good relationship with other European leaders as the current Foreign Secretary. There are two other things that resonate for me about him. First of all, he comes from an armed forces family. He understands that dynamic of what our armed forces and their families sacrifice for us to have the security that we want. I was former Defence Secretary and I set up an armed forces personnel charity, so that matters a lot to me, that the leader of my country would understand that. He's also an entrepreneur. He understands what small businesses go through. He's been there, he's had businesses that didn't succeed before the business that did succeed. And for the Conservative Party, one of our key audiences has to be small businesses. I want us to be the party for every corner shop owner, for every small business to look and say, they are the people who understand me.
Would you be willing to work with Boris Johnson if he did become Prime Minister?
Well, my message to all my colleagues is that we avoid external coalitions by maintaining an internal coalition. And
that's not necessarily a yes or no answer.
It's a yes because we have a democratic process and we have to accept the outcome of that democratic process. We'll have to come together because the real threat to the United Kingdom's security and prosperity is a hard left government led by Jeremy Corbyn. That we must avoid at all costs, and that means working together and sticking together as a party.